Hello there, I'm Begalius, and it's time to get controversial. It is once again time to get controversial in the Halo series with the second 343 game. We just covered Halo 4 and how I was disappointed by it, and that was a very controversial take, I know, because a lot of people love Halo 4 now. But now with the second foray into Halo on behalf of 343, we're going to go controversial again, once again, because I kind of like this game. I actually do like this game, which I know, given that I said I didn't like Halo 4, that is a horrible take and people are not going to like me for it, blah, 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 etc. But the thing about this game is that it goes so far off of the deep end, that it redeems itself and it becomes something that is enjoyable. I mean, do this. Okay, just for a moment. I want you to look at this game, stare into the soul of this game, and just for a moment, imagine this isn't a Halo game. Imagine it's just a generic sci-fi shooter. But screw it. If it makes it easier, imagine it's a Bionicle game. Imagine it's a Bionicle video game. Tell me this wouldn't be fun. Tell me we wouldn't consider this to be a fun, polished action romp. And we would. And the story would still not be good. You know, in this hypothetical, we remove it from the rest of the games and it's not a Halo game. It's just its own standalone story. The story still wouldn't be good. The writing still wouldn't be good. I still wouldn't care about the characters and I'd still find it annoying and frustrating at times. But it would still be fun. It would still be goofy and over the top, and I would still have a great time playing it. But I understand, I do know, I'm doing something a bit silly here, and something that I'm not a big fan of. I'm removing it from the rest of the Halo series, which I shouldn't do, because it's a Halo game, and a lot of my discontent towards Halo 4 was based around the fact that it was a Halo game, but it refused to want to be one. And if I'm going to say that about Halo 4, then why is it okay that Halo 5, would be good if we applied the same principle? Well, because I never get the sense that it's trying desperately to be more than it should be. My big issue with Halo 4 was that it was so obsessed with itself, so pretentious, and loved itself so much, adored itself so much. And though there are moments in this game where I disliked it because of that, I disliked that it was trying to do that again. The stuff with the AI, with Cortana turning bad, it did try to get a little bit deep at times. But aside from that, it was just so okay with its mediocrity that I was okay with it too. Like I said, it goes so far off the deep end that it becomes okay. It becomes a silly action movie. But that doesn't make it okay. And I don't think it's good. I still think it's goofy and silly. And when the standard is great and what we get is like, oh, this is kind of fun, then that's still not good enough. It's not so obsessed with being good and so happy with itself like Halo 4, so I don't have some sort of disdain towards the game, but it's still not good. And it still is part of the Halo series, and I still am very frustrated at what they did with Cortana. And the fact that they tried to make, the story of Cortana something that you cared about and was serious. But it's this just is bizarre. I've cared about this person for so long. This person was good. This was the heart. And Master Chief was the body. I've cared about this person throughout these games, and now suddenly I'm expected to just be okay with her being the bad guy. It just doesn't seem right, especially when you've thrusted me into this whole new universe and told me, oh, hey, we've switched things up again, and suddenly Cortana's bad. Especially if in the previous game they tried to make you care more about the relationship between the Master Chief and Cortana than ever before. To just flip the switch and make her a bad guy was just, I think, a terrible move and a bad take. And overall the story, I can't take it seriously. But again, I don't feel that for a lot of the time the game wants me to, so I'm okay with it. I find the writing bad, I find the puns bad, but throughout it's just fine.
Really well.
Fuck up my spawn.
Your spawn in the butt.
What? I can't that guy.
I'll your guy is the guy.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Over here.
I think that might be anti-Semitic.
Not annoying, not frustrating, and not obsessed with itself. Just fine. And the thing is, I think a lot of similar stuff could be said about the gameplay, but actually to a more positive extent. I definitely prefer the gameplay in this game, though I think the story isn't objectively as good here, and I don't think, you know, the character writing is as good or anything like that. The fact that going from mission to mission is so much more fun, the environment is so much better. I like going through the missions here more than I did in Halo 4, and because of that, I can kind of swallow things a bit better. And that's what she said. Going from mission to mission is a lot more fun, and overall the story is just more fun to power through when you're just like blasting through it with jetpacks. And there are moments that are actually pretty great. There are areas that I really liked. I liked the deserty stuff. The canyons really reminded me of Halo 2, and the big crescendo at the end of the mission with all, you know, all of the vehicles fighting this big action battle was cool. I liked it. And the mission that was I described this in a previous video as like, it reminded me of a Battlefront 2 map. It's like very purple and you're going from platform to platform. I really like the environment there. You know, some of these environments, there's some horror aspects, and overall the gameplay, because it's so fast and so furious and so silly, again, we don't end up with that issue that we have with Halo 4. My big issue with level design, I think the level design here is far better than Halo 4, immeasurably better here than it is in Halo 4. I know a lot of people had issues with how linear the game was sometimes, and how like there are areas where you just go from platform to platform to platform, but even then, I'm sorry, but personally speaking, I found that to be so much more enjoyable, because you're not just like constantly trying to catch up with the enemy or get away from the enemy, because the enemy always felt too far away or too close. I also felt that the environments were more varied here. In the previous game, it was just Forerunner, architecture after Forerunner, just platform. Here we go from deserts to, you know, all of these alien worlds, Covenant ships. We're doing a lot more here. It feels a lot more traveled. Again, you know, the story itself isn't great, and the world is just not as interesting, but I had more fun with this campaign. There goes the notification. I had more fun with this campaign than I did with Halo 4, and quite frankly, I've been back to this campaign a couple of times, and each time I do have fun. I will say that I hate the co-op stuff. I hate that very, very poorly implemented co-op stuff.
A lot more rushy, so I'm never going to get this done. But you need to stop going down. The AI in this game is fucking useless, and I'm going to get incredibly pissed off with them. Buck, help me up. Buck! Mother... Did you see that?
The game is designed to be played co-op, but when you play with AI, they are just atrocious, and dying is frustrating. But overall, I'm glad they didn't continue with that story. I really don't think the story was great, but the campaign itself was fun. And obviously, I've said this before numerous times, and I'm going to say it again, Halo 5 had very good multiplayer.
By the way, I remember I was watching your stream a couple of days ago, I think it was yesterday, and you were playing Force Unleashed. That shit was funny as fuck. This fucking
That
big
game-
fucking douchebag.
That game sucks, all the penises in the world. I fucking hate that game, but I love it too. It's difficult.
Oh my god, it was so funny to hear you just go, what the fuck?
I owned it on the Wii.
Why the
What, you fucking
fuck
wanker?
did you do that? What the fuck?
It did have good multiplayer. The gameplay worked well in the campaign, very well in the multiplayer. I think Infinite... Well, I shouldn't really get into it. I think the gameplay here is far better than it was in Halo 4, and that translates to the multiplayer. I do think it got better after Halo 5, but the jetpacky stuff and the floating or what have you, though didn't feel very Halo, wasn't bad and did have its place and did work. I think it all balanced very well, and they went back to regular AR and pistol and, you know, BR and what have you starts, and because we started on an even playing field here rather than how it was in Halo 4, it was far better and the game felt very balanced. This was a very balanced feeling multiplayer, and that's why I invested so much of my time into this game. I actually put a lot of time into this multiplayer. I think in total I put around about 700 to 800 hours into this game, and most of it was spent in the multiplayer. I got very invested in it. I will say, obviously, the unlock stuff was annoying. The armor... Open one pack open. Let's see what we got in our arena daily... This is useless. All of this is useless. It looks stupid. Unlocking the armor through packs of cards was just ridiculous. You know, that type of thing didn't work for me, and I don't think it worked for most people, but the gameplay itself was great. And the Warzone was cool. I liked Warzone. And I think a lot of people did. It added a new way to play the game. I'm annoyed that there was no big team battle, that they added it later with Forge. But it was, Warzone was good. And as far as Forge goes, my god, what a huge upgrade for Forge. It was really, really great. Do I think this multiplayer was as good as the Bungie stuff? No. I don't think it was nearly as good. I think those games were perfect. They were balanced. The gameplay was great. The guns felt great to shoot. It didn't feel as though people were zipping around and flying around and zooming around. I thought the level design in the multiplayer maps was better in the Bungie games. I just think overall the multiplayer was far better in those games. And progression was better in Reach, at least. Do I think the multiplayer here is good? Yes, I do think it's good. Do I think the overall package is good? Yes. I think the package is fine. It's fun. I think this game ultimately is the anti-Halo 4. And I think they went into this trying to make the anti-Halo 4. I think where Halo 4 was so obsessed with being great that it didn't meet that expectation and therefore was very bad. Whereas with 5... it feels like there's no expectation. It's just like, let's just make a fun game. Let's just make a game that will be fun and that people will want to play. And making that game was possible and doable. And I think it worked out and the game is fine. And it's one that I came back to a lot. So let's give it a score. Yes, it's a half decent score. It's not bad. I actually gave this score previously to the game a few years ago. A lot of the stuff that I mentioned here is actually rehashed stuff from a few years ago. So I'm probably going to throw some footage in from there too, because I honestly made the video I think in 2020, so it wasn't even that long ago. But it's part of the series, and I'm enjoying talking about this game. So join me next week for the finale, Halo Infinite. We're going to return to it and see where we are now with the game. And I will see everyone later.
The PlayStation's only $149, and you can also get leading titles.